And now I would like to introduce our speaker, Kate McPherson. Kate McPherson is the Senior Academic Advisor at CUNY Baccalaureate for Unique and Interdisciplinary Studies, where she has worked for 20 years as of this month. She guides students through their academic journeys, from admissions through graduation, providing individualized advisement and support. In addition, Kate supervises the advising of staff, manages the website, serves as the program's international education liaison, Fulbright program advisor, and assists students in identifying and applying for local and nationally competitive scholarships and fellowships. She participates at the university level as a member of the University Committee on the CUNY Baccalaureate, the International Education Council, and the Advisement Council. I feel very privileged that Kate is here to join us and speak to us and tell us about this amazing opportunity that a lot of people at CUNY do not know about. So I will hand the floor over to Kate.
Indeed. Thank you so much for having me today. I am so excited to have learned about CRSP this year and to be able to speak to all of you. I'm going to share a PowerPoint and just walk you through an overview of the program. This is designed for an information session, and I realize some of you may not be at the point where you're ready to decide to apply. So bear with me on the slides, and then I'm happy to take questions and answer as many as possible. So CUNYBA turned 50 in February. And we are indeed one of CUNY's best kept secrets. But we've been around obviously for half a century. We are based at the CUNY Graduate Center in Midtown, just across the street from the Empire State Building in this picture. And our students are based at campuses across the university. So CUNYBA oversees the academic requirements of our students, and we grant their degrees. But our students have a home college somewhere in CUNY. Many students join us while still a community college student. Students who have at least 68 credits typically join the program or need to transfer while they're in the program to a senior college as their home college. So obviously we have students at virtually every campus right now. Certainly throughout our history, we've worked with every campus. The program is small. We have about 350 students at the moment. That number is typically a little bit higher, not usually lower. And we're always happy to expand. We are a university-wide degree, and so that means that when students apply to CUNYBA and join the program, you're essentially giving up the degree requirements at your home college and replacing them with a CUNYBA degree. So think of the program as a sort of overlay on top of the university. Students in the program really serves highly motivated, self-directed students who have a clear idea of what it is they'd like to study and aren't finding that offered at any of the colleges. We offer both a Bachelor's of Arts and a Bachelor's of Science, though we are commonly abbreviated as CUNYBA. So this is a common point of confusion, but since you are science students, you'll be glad to know we offer both. Excuse me, let me move my little images. So the hallmark of this program is that students have the ability to create either one or two what we call areas of concentration. So these are like our version of a major. And the idea is that you're coming to us to pursue a degree that either doesn't exist in CUNY in that form or doesn't exist at your home campus. So typically speaking, students pursue interdisciplinary fields of study. Some students build these areas of concentration using courses from multiple campuses at one college. So drawing from perhaps 2 or 3 different disciplines, while other students choose to utilize multiple campuses, right? Often drawing from maybe 2 to 3 other campuses, taking courses perhaps in the same discipline or in a couple of related disciplines. So you'll just see here some samples of area of concentration titles that students have pursued. Um, so one of obviously the advantages of the program is that it opens up all of CUNY to you, or virtually all of CUNY. So all of the undergraduate colleges are available for students to take courses at. Um, this can be really helpful in terms of scheduling. You're kind of amplifying the number of courses and sections and opportunities that are available to you. We have a relatively flexible degree structure, which I'll go over with you. And then you really become something of a dual citizen. So our students, like I mentioned, are based at one of the campuses. Um, and your home college provides everything that you would expect in your college experience. So just as if you were a regular Hunter student or a City College student or Queens College student, you would have all of the same benefits as a CUNY-BA student, adding CUNY-BA on top of your home college, almost becoming, right, a dual citizen. Um, so you would retain access to things like counseling services and the accessibility office. You would continue to handle your tuition and find financial aid at your home college. You would participate in extracurriculars and have access to facilities and services there. So nothing gets stripped away from you by joining CUNY-BA, but rather you just add to what's available. This is a sample just to give you an idea of sort of what an area of concentration looks like. I'm sorry I didn't have time to pull one in the sciences. So this gives you just an idea of roughly sort of how many intermediate and upper level courses go into one of these. This student chose 3 campuses and a variety of different departments. But as you can see, it all comes together into something coherent and specialized. One of the great benefits of the program is that while we are a pretty tiny staff, we provide really wraparound services. So our students all have a dedicated academic advisor who you meet with at the point that you are accepted into the program. We invite every applicant to meet with us. We present you with your transfer evaluation and explain what your individual requirements will look like in the program, because really each CUNY-BA student has their own sort of customized degree. Either myself or my colleague Rafal will work with you from the time you begin the program until the time you graduate, and oftentimes beyond when we're still working with students on fellowships and graduate programs. We also have 5 really spectacular doctoral students who are at the dissertation writing stage of their degree, who work with us and make up our CUNY-BA Graduate Fellows program. And so they provide a lot of programming, so they do a lot of events for us and communications. So kind of hand in hand with the hallmark of the program, which I mentioned earlier in the area of concentration, right? The sort of customized, self-designed major, is the role of a faculty mentor. So each CUNY-BA student has at least one full-time faculty member from somewhere in the CUNY system who supervises their area of study. So within your first semester in the program, you will identify and bring on board a faculty member who will help you sort of polish and finalize the curriculum that you've developed. And they'll work with you to guide you through that and continue to update and care for, tend to that curriculum right up until graduation. Mentors do a lot more than that. For many of our students, they work in their mentors' labs, they conduct research together, they co-author or co-present papers and presentations. A lot of our students pursue internship or independent study work with their mentors. Um, the requirement for a faculty mentor is simply that they be a full-time faculty member somewhere in the CUNY system and have expertise that is related to what you're studying. So be in an appropriate department. Some students in the program wind up having more than one faculty mentor, sometimes because they have two relatively unrelated areas of concentration, and sometimes simply because a student feels that they'll be better served by having someone with expertise in each of their sort of subfields. So a student who's pursuing a degree in um, biochemical processes, for example, might choose to have a bio mentor and a chem mentor. Um, we also offer a number of scholarships in the program. Again, think of this as something that you would add on to whatever scholarships and awards are available at your home campus. We have a number of small one-time awards, and we also have a fellowship program, which students apply for and can begin receiving funding if selected as early as their second semester. And that program funds students through 120 credits, so typically through completion of their bachelor's degree. Um, so our degree structure, as I mentioned, is relatively flexible. We offer a 120 credit bachelor's degree with a minimum requirement of 60 liberal arts credits. That's standard. Um, we follow the same CUNY pathways general education requirements as the rest of the university. I will mention one minor detail, which is that because we are a university level program, when students apply to the program and we do a transfer evaluation, we are able to reevaluate courses towards pathways based on what pathways looks like as a university level curriculum, and not simply based on the courses that your individual college includes in that curriculum. So sometimes at this stage, students come into the program with a slightly better kind of evaluation towards pathways requirements than they otherwise would have had. Students pursue either one or two areas of concentration. Those are a minimum of 8 courses, 24 credits for a single, and 6 courses, 18 credits for a dual. Those are minimums. But those are only quantifying the intermediate and upper level coursework in your field. So you'll note that those are much smaller than a traditional major. And that's partly because we're not calculating those intro classes into that number. We have a 2.5 GPA requirement to remain in the program. That's both overall and in your area or areas of concentration. That's to remain in the program and also to be eligible to graduate. Students are required to complete at least 30 credits within CUNY as a CUNY-BA student once entering the program. That's to complete our residency requirement. And finally, we offer students the opportunity to apply for up to 30 what we term non-collegiate or non-classroom credits towards their degree. So these can be sometimes credit by exam. Oftentimes applicants to the program come to us having earned AP credit, sometimes CLEP credit or other college level exam credit. And then other students, while in the program, undertake a portfolio-based application process to apply for up to 15 credits of life experience credit. This really typically serves students who've had a gap in their education, so a break either between high school and college or during college where they've had substantial professional or work experience. So we transfer up to a total of 90 credits. We take a maximum of 68 community college credits within that. When students apply to the program, we will collect all of your original transcripts and do our own transfer evaluation, again, separate from that of your home campus. We transfer all CUNY credits within credit limits and courses with a grade of C or better from outside of CUNY. Um, I'm gonna skip this because I think those last couple of points aren't wildly relevant for us right now. So in order to be admitted into the program, you need to be matriculated somewhere in CUNY. So I know that some of you are currently community college students and others, guessing from last year's cohort, perhaps have already graduated and transferred to a senior college. Either of those is fine. As long as you have fewer than 68 credits at the moment, you can apply to the program while matriculated at a community college. And if you have more than that, our hope is that you can be matriculated at a senior college before being admitted, but you can apply to the program simultaneous to filing a CUNY transfer application to matriculate into a senior college. Um, for any of you who are at the graduation stage or enrolled, you've already come far beyond the assessment tests. We don't need to talk about that. We look for applicants to have at least 12 credits of academic credit on their transcript for us to evaluate. For admissions purposes, we look for a minimum GPA of a 2.8. We're particularly interested in how you've performed in classes in your field of study and in your more recent coursework. So we're very nuanced in our evaluation. It's a very holistic application. We're always willing to consider students who perhaps fall shy of that requirement. I would say that if you are concerned about your GPA or your qualifications for the program, while it's not required, this is where a letter of recommendation can be valuable in your application as well. We require a brief personal statement about 1 to 2 pages outlining essentially what your academic and perhaps postgraduate goals, if you've identified those already, are, and essentially how you will be able to pursue those by being a CUNY-BA student. And then each applicant gives us a proposal for the area of concentration or areas of concentration that they're hoping to put together. So actually giving us a title and a list of courses as a sample of what they're envisioning. So you can see sort of the format of that here. So once students apply, we process applications relatively quickly. Like I mentioned, we bring you in to talk to an advisor and review your own individual kind of transfer evaluation and degree requirements. Assuming you like our offer and you wish to join the program, you'll sign the contract and accept that. And then we begin processing students sort of into the program and bring them to an orientation. So I have just details here about where to submit your application. Like I said at the outset, I realize many of you are not yet at the stage of wishing to apply. Just you're already probably familiar with most of this. And I can go over stuff like international credit if anyone has that. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing this presentation and hopefully you have some questions for me and we can give a little bit more texture to the program that way.
Okay, and I would like to just encourage people to feel free to either put their questions in the chat. You're welcome to do it that way. Or if you would like to unmute yourself and ask questions verbally, you can also feel free to do it that way.
I have a question.
Please.
Is there a requirement to how fast I need to complete the program? Because I'm actively looking for work right now in my field.
It's a really excellent question. I'll say honestly, most of our students are guided in how quickly they move through the program, frankly, by financial aid requirements, right? So that 12 credits for TAP is what gets a lot of students on schedule. But beyond that, no, it's really up to you. I have had students pursue their degrees 1 course at a time over a period of many years, and other students who move through at a really quick pace of about 18 credits a semester. And we have no preference and no requirement. You can take a semester off and take a summer course and then take a fall course and then be full-time in the spring. There's no requirement that you stay either full-time or part-time.
Okay, and if I did do that, I would possibly be eligible for the 15 life experience credits.
So
if I'm working?
That's a good question. Life experience credit is limited to experiences that students have had while they were not enrolled in college. So it can't happen simultaneously to being a student.
Okay.
is that it's more designed for students who had a gap. So like a couple of years off.
Okay.
But
Okay.
oftentimes students in your situation where you're working or doing something in your field while being a student are able to capitalize on that through internship credits sometimes.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Kate, we have a question in the chat.
Sure.
How many words for the personal statement and when is the deadline of the application?
Oh, great question. So we work on a rolling application deadline. We will accept your application any day of the year. And we begin meeting with applicants for the fall semester around the beginning of April. We started late March this year. And we will meet with incoming students through mid to late August. We will reach a date in August where we frankly no longer have the capacity to admit students in terms of processing time. And then at that point, any applications we receive will roll over to the spring.
So if we're already in a 2-year college, how are we going to transfer to the 4-year university?
Sure. So if you're at a 2-year right now and you're not going to reach 68 credits right away, you can apply to the program and stay there. You don't need to also transfer to a senior college. If you're around that point and you're getting ready to transfer to a senior college, you would go into CUNY first and file a CUNY transfer application.
Okay, and what about, so what in this program, we can pursue 2 degrees at the same time
You can
as
pursue
far as the dual?
Yeah, you can pursue 2 areas of concentration. So essentially a double major, but it's not a dual degree, which is
Okay,
actually a really common point of confusion. So I'm glad you asked that.
so when you say a double major, an example meaning like maybe sociology or psychology, or can we actually create something like psychology with nursing, or like any type of degree that we want to concentrate on?
It is virtually limitless. As long as the classes are there and they're accessible to you, almost anything is viable. There are 3 degrees that we cannot offer. We cannot grant a nursing degree, an education degree, or an engineering degree. The reason for that is that all of those programs, in addition to having regional accreditation, so we're all accredited by middle states at CUNY, they're accredited by professional bodies. So for example, engineering degrees should be ABET accredited. Because our curriculum is not set, right? Because we have no kind of fixed curriculum to our degree, the way you would find in a college catalog, we can't hold those accreditations. So nursing you couldn't combine for that reason, but virtually anything else.
So
So if you
so
wanted,
the bachelor's of science,
Mhm.
I would be able to get a bachelor's of science in psychology.
Yeah,
And then what would be an example of what I could get in this program? Because that's what my major is now.
psychology.
Mhm.
So psychology is one of my favorite examples of sort of how this can go. You can take psychology and you can roll it in with, so we got one a lot, religion, right? And so like psychosocial dimensions of spirituality, religion, sociology, psychology. Or I have students who focus within psychology, right? So almost more like what you would do in graduate school. So I have someone who graduated this year who studied neurodegenerative diseases. I have someone else doing
So what would they have a degree in, like bachelor's of science in psychology degree? How
well,
would that?
it's whatever you name it, right? So her degree is she has a bachelor's of science in neurodegenerative diseases.
So I can name my degree a bachelor's of science in uh social psychology, specializing in women health or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, right. You could combine women and gender studies and
Yeah.
sociology and psychology or public health. Absolutely.
And then, and this will be, and it's say, for instance, if we, just kept on like it doesn't matter how many classes we take at a time, or is it a limit? Like, for instance, each year you have to take 12, or maybe one where I can probably finish this degree in maybe a year or two.
So again, we have no requirement as to how quickly or slowly you can move through the program. So I have students who take a full 18 credit a load each semester. I'll say that that's less common. And I have students who take one class a semester. So anything in between is fine. It really, honestly, for most students, it just comes down to affordability and financial aid and, scheduling.
So as far as the portfolio base with the life experience, how do you evaluate students how do you get that? What do we have to present to evaluate that?
So that's something that students undertake once they've already entered the program. That process is overseen directly by our academic director. So each semester he runs a series of small workshops where he'll meet with interested students and review the entire process. He'll give you a handbook on how it works. He'll show you examples and he'll talk it through with you. But essentially a portfolio documents, provides a description or narrative of your experiences. And then normally students match up each of their experiences to course descriptions to sort of quantify their experiences into college level learning.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, can we get to your question shortly? I just want to get to the chat and then we'll come back to the verbal questions. So one question in the chat is, do you assign a mentor for us, or should we look for the professor related to that interested field to be our mentor?
Yeah, so typically we do not. Our program encourages students to seek out and find their own faculty mentors, and that's for a variety of reasons. If we kept making recommendations, we'd always keep recycling the same pool of faculty. And we don't want to do that, right? We want to constantly be bringing new people into the program, and we don't want to restrict who you work with either. So what we do is some coaching to help you find a mentor if you need that support. I would say that for anyone who's finding this appealing and is considering the program, when you do the work of putting together a proposal for your application and you're researching what classes are available at the senior colleges and the sorts of departments that interest you, and you're piecing it together and you're putting that picture together for us, you should take the time to stop and look at the faculty bios on those department websites. I think that that's a really natural way for students to start to get a sense of like what the professors in that field are doing and who might align with your interests or your area of specialization. From there, I typically encourage students to reach out with a brief introductory email, not quite this informal, but hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm interested in studying. I see you do work in, XYZ that's related. Would you have time to chat? So just a super low ask so that you can have a conversation with them and talk to them a little bit more about what your interests are, where those sort of line up with the work that they're doing. And if you hit it off and you feel good about that, that's a really good opportunity to then introduce that you're either interested in CUNYBA or in CUNYBA and seeking a faculty mentor. I always discourage students from making this ask like upfront in that initial email, because I do think faculty are a little protective of time, and reasonably so, and less likely to say yes who's to a name they've never seen in their inbox before. And also, I want students to have the opportunity to meet with someone and decide that they're not a good fit or that they're not the right mentor for you. We also run workshops in each semester, but in your first semester, you'll pretty quickly have access to a workshop about finding a faculty mentor as well. When we have students who have difficulty identifying a mentor, we're certainly happy to help. And one of the things we did just about a year ago when we went remote, we were really concerned about what this would look like once students could no longer sort of like show up at office hours, right? We all know how much easier it is to find someone when you're on campus versus in a virtual space. So we reached out to our current and recent pool of mentors and asked them to identify that to us whether or not they'd be willing to take on additional mentees and sort of what they were looking for in them. So we do have a small database of volunteers.
How would we choose our homeschool?
So my feeling is that your home college should be the campus where you hope to take the majority of your courses. Students can take courses at any campus. We utilize the e-permit system for students to register around the university. We provide a lot of support. E-permit works relatively smoothly as a CUNY-BA student, but you're negotiating 20 some odd campuses with 20 some odd different registration periods and 20 some odd different e-permit approvers. So, there's a little bit involved there, right? You're adding a layer of bureaucracy. And so I always like students to be based at a college where they're hoping to complete the majority of their classes instead of based at a school where they're going to have to e-permit out for everything.
So like, for instance, if I want to go to Queens College, I don't have to get accepted. Do I have to get accepted into Queens College for that to be my base college?
You do, yes. But you can apply to CUNY-BA and to Queens College at the same time. And we'll just need to be able to document that you're accepted to Queens before we can accept you. But you can have both applications going at the same time.
Okay, so we're going to go take one more from the chat, then we'll go back to Sana has had her hand up for a little bit, and the other person whose name I didn't get, but we'll go to his question also, right? So the one from the chat is, how does an ACO proposal look, and is there a template for that?
Yeah, so in fact, I showed you a slide in that presentation with a sample area of concentration. That's pretty much what the proposal looks like. I'll bring it up again in a second. You're really going through the catalogs, or whatever technique you want to use. The schedule of classes is a good one too, and thinking about to use the earlier example of, let's say, psychology and gender studies, just to keep it simple with 2 departments. Think about, first of all, who has those departments, right? Like, which campuses have strong departments? So off the top of my head, sociology, almost every senior college has, but Hunter comes to mind, Brooklyn, same for gender studies, those 2 campuses. I would maybe throw into the mix City College or John Jay, or again, if your geography is different, any of the other campuses, and then start to look through their course offerings, right? And piece this together.
Okay, and so now you had your hand up for a while, but you also had questions in the chat. So do you still have a question?
Hi, yes, I'm so sorry. I'm in a school building currently, so I'm sorry for any kids' background noise you guys hear. But hi, I'm Sana. I couldn't join earlier, so I just came in. So my advisor, I'm a current student at Kingsborough. So my advisor told me about the CUNY-BA program because I know that I don't want to study general biology. I want to branch out to like psychology, but I want to find like a way to combine like biology, psychology, and like a little bit of like politics. It's like all of this sounds like very interesting to me. Like learn how to combine like the human body and like the mind and everything. So I want to like, maybe I missed this out, but I just wanted to know like what's the process for like applications, and is there like a way to like combine like these 3 different concentrations?
Yeah, I think that those could work together. I have a number of students who do something along the lines of neuroscience, a bunch of variations on that, sort of combining psych and biology. But I could see,
because I know that Hunter College has a neuroscience concentration in psychology, but I don't think I want to limit myself to like just strictly, studying about just the neuroscience aspect. Hence why I think the CUNY-BA program would be like a perfect fit for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could certainly take something like, politics, or like kind of the politics of this stuff, and roll it into that as well.
But if we're in, like, say for instance, if we're in Queens College, where that college is accredited to do like the engineering, then how would that coincide with the CUNY-BA?
We are not allowed to accept students to do engineering, and you won't be able to take engineering student courses as a CUNY-BA student. The engineering school at City College does not allow any non-engineering students into their courses. I have, on rare occasion, had students include 1 or 2 engineering courses in a much broader degree. So just a couple of years ago, I had 2 students come to us from the engineering program at City, and they did actually a version of like theatrical and stage engineering. But the courses that they took on the CUNY-BA side of their program were the theater courses. They had taken the engineering courses while they were still engineering students. So that's just, it's really just one of the areas that's not viable for the program. There is something I wanted to mention about home colleges, which is that if any of you are continuing on at a community college next year, in other words, if you're not about to graduate, you're certainly eligible to apply and join CUNY-BA while still a community college student, and you can still graduate with your associates if you wish to. We can facilitate that with your college. Other students join us while still at the community college without the intention of completing an associate's degree, though usually we encourage them to transfer within a semester if that's the case.
Along those lines, Kate, there's a question about whether or not the mentor can be from a CUNY community college. Is that possible?
In fact, in many years ago, this was not the case, and we made this change. And so yes, mentors can be at the community college level, the senior college level, and we also have students who have mentors from graduate programs in the graduate school and
Okay.
professional schools. We have some folks, I think, in the School of Journalism, School of Public Health.
Okay, Alexander has his hand up. Did I cut someone off a little earlier that was about to ask a question? Just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay, Alexander?
You refer to me?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sure.
I'm from Hostos Community College.
Hi.
I'm professor of mathematics there. And a while ago, there was Mr. Kim Hartswick.
Yes.
We discussed the opportunity to organize CUNY-BA for bilingual math. What do you think? Is it appropriate program for CUNY-BA?
I'm sorry, you said for bilingual math?
Yes, our college is eligible to teach in Spanish. The only college in CUNY, I'm assuming.
So I think one of the important things I should mention here, in terms of the requirements for courses in an area of concentration, they do all need to be completed at the senior college level. So your community college courses will transfer in with you. They'll count towards your degree. They'll fulfill prerequisites in all likelihood in your field of study. But we can't take, for example, an organic chem 2 course or a calculus 3 course and apply it to an area of concentration, even though it's clearly not introductory, if it's from a community college. That's just how CUNY built the program many years ago. And so I think that maybe that was what came up, is that we wouldn't be able to have our students take those courses towards their major requirements.
So CUNY-BA does not accept, say, 200 level courses from community college.
We will accept them, but they can't be applied towards the major.
I see. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a question in here about private colleges. I don't suppose you have any relationship with private colleges, right? There's no taking courses in the CUNY-BA and private schools.
Well, so we have our 30 credit residency requirement. And I mean, presumably many of you are roughly at the halfway mark of your degrees, right? So for students who come in under 90 credits, you complete at least 30 credits of your degree in CUNY, and that gives you the flexibility of taking non-CUNY classes. Again, I think affordability is always the main driving factor for our students at CUNY, so it's pretty uncommon for students to take courses at private colleges. I do certainly on occasion see someone take a course at Columbia, usually because they work there and get it or something, or NYU. More commonly, on occasion, I'll have a IT or a SUNY school. We also work a lot. Study abroad is a really nice fit in our program, and sometimes students do non-CUNY study abroad programs. And students oftentimes get accepted into summer research programs or summer enrichment programs that are offered through private institutions. So this summer I have a student doing a neuroscience internship at Princeton. And we've always had BMCC students who do the summer Vassar program and earn credit. So, we do see those credits, but no, by and large, our students can't pay that tuition and so don't. We certainly have students transfer in from private colleges, and we are essentially CUNY's version of Gallatin. But I saw that question in the chat, and I will say that one technique I love is that, yeah, I mean, if NYU, for example, or Fordham or someone offers a major that's really appealing to you that you don't see at CUNY, build it with us, right? I mean, as long as the courses are there and they're available to you, that's exactly what we're here for. So, I've had students come to me and say, this is a made up example, but Stanford has this really strong data science program that I'd like to model. Can I do that? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Look at their requirements and then find them at CUNY and let's go that direction. So you can certainly use that as a template or inspiration.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Kate. There's a general question in here about math courses, and I guess maybe that's looking at the ease of moving back and forth among the colleges related to getting math credits. I think, unless Mahmoud, you wanted to clarify or add something to that.
So definitely, is there a clarification to that? Otherwise,
Yeah.
I could speak generally to kind of equivalencies and prerequisites.
Yeah, Mahmoud, did you want to expand on that, or should Kate speak just generally about it?
Generally, I think my question was answered.
Okay.
I think, though, it raises a good point. I rely on the CUNY course catalog for equivalencies. You can all find that in the self-service area of CUNY First. And it is really important in the math and science disciplines to follow that, because as you probably already know, there's a lot of territoriality in CUNY and not all departments want to accept everyone else's version of their courses. So I will say that this is something our students actually navigate pretty smoothly, however, as long as you're set up to know how that works and how to navigate it, it doesn't typically become an obstacle. But it is something to be very mindful of, because not everybody takes everyone else's, Bio 2, for example.
So with that being said, if we're in this program, that's what helps us, right? It's this program, it will be evaluated under the CUNY BA, right? Degree, or I'm confused that if I'm enrolled at Queens College and I'm enrolled in the CUNY BA program, what's my, like, if I'm in the CUNY BA program, how does that prevent me from doing things at Queens College? So I'm confused with that.
It shouldn't prevent you from doing anything at Queens. I think the question is really if you've taken Calc 1 at Queens with the intention of taking Calc 2 and 3 at City College, you don't want to find out that City College doesn't accept the Queens College Calc 1 as a prerequisite. Right? And so that's where it's worth the extra step of being very deliberate to go through the catalog and just make sure when you're planning this out and when you're planning your proposal that you're aware of how each of the departments that you're going to take classes in view each other's courses in terms of prerequisites. I'll also mention this, since I am assuming you are a largely kind of natural sciences, mathematics group, although I realize we might have some other disciplines mixed in here. For the purpose of the proposal in the application, area of concentration classes do need to be intermediate and upper level. So in disciplines like psychology and sociology and anthropology, I'm betraying my social science background here. Those are really straightforward, right? You have intro, intro, intro. Everything past the intro has that as a prerequisite and therefore qualifies to be part of this curriculum. In the sciences, we consider the first year to be introductory. So general 1 and 2 would be just either satisfy your pathways, that would count as electives. Obviously, they would count in your degree, but they would not be eligible to be area of concentration courses. So usually we start to see courses come in, at the Orgo 1 and 2 level, or the biochemistry level, the genetics level, sort of those next level up courses. And then the same, less so in math. It sort of depends on what students are doing, but we don't usually have like a college math course in the proposal.
Okay, thank you, Kate. And Carlos, you had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, actually, right about what we were talking about just now. When I was getting my associates, there was a course that I wanted to take that was not in my program. It was a course on operating systems, but in order to take that course, I had to take a prerequisite course, which I felt I didn't really need to take. Would this be a way, is there a way to test out of these courses, which, for example, I wasn't allowed to test out of that course when I was at BMCC?
There's nothing about being a CUNY-BA student that gets you around prerequisites. Although for whatever reason, it's a pretty common misperception, so it's out there. I will say this. There are departments that have a pretty rigorous prerequisite structure, right? Where it's really sequenced. So City Tech is if you've looked at any of their degrees, is a really good example of this. I do find that in some circumstances, those are often structured in such a way because they want students to move through the program in a certain order. Sometimes those faculty members will show some flexibility because they appreciate that if you're not pursuing that specific degree, you don't necessarily need every single one. We are a program that has historically served a lot of returning adult students as well, like non-traditionally aged students. In fact, our average age is still, I think, about 25, which is about 10 years younger than it was when I started. So I also find that, if a student has some kind of practical experience, maybe professional experience, or just kind of hobby experience, well, especially when we get into fields like web design or graphic design or the arts, that's not always captured on a transcript. And so sometimes there is flexibility there, although I don't want to mislead you and say, yes, like you can join CUNY-BA and then not need to take prerequisites, because that's not the case.
Okay.
They're really, prerequisites are departmental level requirements. And so it's always going to be up to that department, whether it's something that they feel flexible on or not. But I think where you have a legitimate basis to ask, then it's always fine to do so.
Okay, thank you.
I think you've got a couple of financial support questions here. I'll try to combine them.
Okay.
So one is, what other support do you have other than scholarships? And then one is there financial aid for non-US citizens?
So just so that I am entirely clear here, all of our students have the same financial aid options at their home college that they otherwise would. So most of our students receive, most grant-based aid, Pell, TAP. We have Sikh students, we have students who receive stuff like Excelsior. We have, like I mentioned, a pretty healthy number of awards for such a small program. They're far less competitive because we're such a small program than the ones at the campuses. We don't have any other financial support at the moment though. So there's no like additional financial aid or award in the program. We are always applying for new grants. We're applying for one right now with CRSP students in mind. So I really hope that in the relatively near future, we can share some great news with you about that, right? We would like to have some funding available for you specifically, and we're trying to. And we did also, until about a year ago, we spent it down, and frankly, COVID derailed our reapplication plans. We did have an opportunities fund for our students. This was modeled on the original Macaulay Honors College Opportunities Fund that they get access to. Many of you may know that Macaulay's fund has shrunken drastically over time, and students no longer have access to much of that money at all. So we offered students up to $1,000 per student that they could apply for either all at once or in pieces to help defray the costs of experiences that enhanced their education. So whether that was to offset an unpaid internship, to attend a conference, or to use towards study abroad. Those are really the sorts of things we were able to support. So for example, I had a student who applied 3 separate times for small pools of money to go to 3 separate conferences, other students who applied to use it all at once to study abroad. We're really hopeful that we'll be able to renew that and bring it back as well, because that added so much flexibility to the sort of funding that we were able to offer.
Okay, there's a question in here about requirements.
Okay.
The student writes, I see that one of the requirements of application is prerequisites of English Composition 1 and 2. If I had English Composition 1 and technical writing, am I eligible?
Yeah, so that's not, the application is not requiring you to have any of those courses in order to apply. I think that that's breaking down the pathways requirements, and those are just how CUNY terms those categories. So there are courses that are not Composition 1 and Composition 2 that fulfill those. So for example, under CUNYBA, any writing intensive section will also fulfill one of your composition requirements. And yes, like we would reevaluate something like technical writing at the application stage to see if we could apply that. So as long as you have at least 12 graded credits for us to review, you don't need to have any specific courses on your transcript in order to apply to the program. The reason we lay all of those out is just so that you know what to expect.
Okay, and Jiyoung, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I asked for the support, right? So what other support do you have in terms of to go to the graduate school or to the medical school? What other academic support do you have for this one?
So we do not have a pre-med or pre-health advisor, although I have students work really successfully with those advisors at their home campus. So when you're looking for a home campus, I would say definitely take that into consideration. So for example, at Hunter, this is a really standard thing, same at City, whereas Baruch, which has amazing natural sciences, and I'm a huge fan of their departments, has a more kind of ad hoc approach to pre-med advising, where they just tap a professor who kind of does it on an as needed basis. So if that's something you're looking at, I would say be deliberate when you choose a home college and make sure you choose one that offers that as a resource. But in general, In fact, I'm really excited. We were invited this year, our students were invited to a pre-health fair through the Macaulay Honors College and honors programs at CUNY. So we're starting to be included in those sorts of things that get organized as well. We run graduate school workshops a couple of times each semester with the Associate Director of Admissions from the Graduate Center. He runs them for us. We also worked with the CUNY Graduate Studies Office this year, and they offered an entire week in March where they booked individual one-on-one advising appointments with CUNYBA students to talk about all of the graduate opportunities available in their field of study or area of interest at CUNY. And we have 5 graduate fellows who are doctoral students, very close to finishing their doctoral degrees, who obviously have the direct experience of going through graduate programs. So all of that, and then occasionally a one-off event as well.
So, and one of last question. So how do we pay our tuition? Is that up to the homeschool or is separately?
Yeah, it is based on your homeschool. And so I think, again, I think we have a mixed crowd of community and senior college students here. So for those of you who are still matriculated at a community college and chose to begin the program, your tuition is based on your home college rate. So you would continue to be paying Ostos tuition as an Ostos student, even if you join CUNY-BA, until such time as you had to transfer to a senior college, and then you would pay your senior college rate. So yes, and this is common. I don't know why this rumor is out there. All of the community colleges are the same cost. All of the senior colleges are the same cost. There's variation in graduate tuition, but not senior college tuition.
So that means I can take.
You would have your home college in your FAFSA. For financial aid, all of that goes through your home campus. Your tuition is charged at your home campus. Part of the function of the e-permit system relies on placeholders for e-permit courses so that your home college has record of how many credits you're taking, and they're able to calculate your tuition and apply financial aid. There are restrictions in CUNY on what kind of awards can be given to undocumented students. Some awards are additionally restricted from international students, although virtually all of our scholarships, I think we have one $1,000 award that specifically requires US citizenship, but none of our other ones look at residency status at all.
Okay, so we're coming near to the end of the program. It is 4 o'clock. Maybe just a couple of very quick additional questions. One student asks, can you have 2 homeschools?
No.
Okay. And do you accept a student with a computer science major in the CUNY-BIA program?
Sure, absolutely. So here's what you can't do. You can't apply to CUNY-BA to do a major that exists, right? So you can apply to CUNY-BA to do something called computer science, but it has to look different from the computer science program at your college, right? It has to be in some way unique or customized to you. So frankly, nobody should apply to the program if you're happy with what's available to you at the college. If you look at that curriculum and think this is exactly what I need. I think for the most part, students come to us because they look at that curriculum and say, well, I like half this computer science major, but I really wish I was also getting some courses in, data visualization and, analytics.
That would mean that you would have to, it would be more, right? It's not like substituting. So if you're going for one major,
it could be substituting. It could be sort of cherry picking the pieces of the major that you like and augmenting it or substituting out courses.
Okay, so I think that brings us to an end. We had lots of great questions. Thanks everyone for attending. Thank you for the great questions. And Kate, this was absolutely wonderful. We really appreciate it. Super informative. I'd love to apply myself. And we wish you and everyone here all the best.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Ron, you're welcome to share my contact information. We hold information sessions every few weeks, and we have one coming up relatively soon. So if you go to our website, which is cunyba.cuny.edu, I'll just type it right here in the chat. You'll be able to find one of those and sign up for it. And if you have questions, reach out and I'll get them answered for you, okay? And we'd be happy to come back and talk again.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And we will send out your email address to everyone who signed up.
And I hope everyone gets outside and enjoys the sun today.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much.
Have a great one.
Take care.